Well, guys, I am going to do my best to contain my excitement. First, it is 5:32 in the morning, and so as you all know, regardless of the time of night it is, regardless of the fact that I have to start getting ready for work soon, if something happens to me in the middle of the night, I share that experience with you. And while this wasn't a lot, what I saw was amazing. I've never seen anything like it in my life, and I cannot wait to share it with you. But let me begin at the beginning, as I always do. So it's the usual story with me. Actually, no, it wasn't the usual story last night. I didn't stay up too late. I was actually really tired from work, to be honest with you. I was completely exhausted, and I just wanted to sleep for a while, and I kind of had it in my mind early on in the evening. So yesterday, actually, early on, I mean around maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock, toward the evening, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna rest. I had a little something to eat, and then I rested for, actually, I rested for quite some time. It turns out that I ended up sleeping for hours and hours. Now, this was just sleeping straight through, and I fell asleep. Now, it's funny. So many of you, I've seen those of you who will, write to me saying you struggle with astral projection or whatever. And I always tell you to be patient, and you do have to be patient because for me, even when I'm making attempts, sometimes I do fall asleep. And I've said this before, I don't always achieve what I want to achieve, and it's okay. You have to be patient. And in this case, again, I slept pretty much almost through the night. I got up at one point and went to the restroom, and then I laid back down again. And it's funny, for those of you interested, I was using storm sounds again, but the particular storm sounds that I had on were a bit loud. So I decided to turn it more to raindrops. So like it had really, really hard rain. And what I did was I kind of switched it. I went to a storm sound that was a little more calm, more raindrops. It had thunder in the background, but yeah, it was a little quieter. And I believe that way I was able to focus my mind more. I was picturing myself holding onto a white rope, but I also pictured myself activating my third eye at the same time at times, sort of a combination. And I also pictured myself kind of pushing through the 3D barrier, and that's something I've talked about as well. Another technique that I've kind of developed on my own is if I have two hands and I'm pushing forward. These are the things I imagined. Eventually, I could feel it coming on. I could feel the sense coming on. That wave of energy. This is classic Beyond Body. I'm telling you guys, classic Beyond Body. When it came on, I felt the movement. And I just took a breath. I was breathing. I was focused because, well, I don't know. I was just like, I didn't know what I was going to see. I never know what I'm going to see. Of course, again, as I've been telling you guys, I've been a little bit obsessed with Saturn and seeing the rings of Saturn. And it was something I was thinking about, something that I was suggesting to my guides. And Sometimes I don't know. I mean, my guys just take me to places and I'm just like, you know what? You guys do what you want. I'd like to see Saturn, but if you take me somewhere else, that's fine, especially if it is an interesting place. So I could feel the movement and I was just breathing and I was patient. And it was so interesting because in in the darkness, I could see the silhouette of a tunnel as I was moving. It was interesting. It was just barely visible. It seemed that this trip lasted for quite some time, actually, compared to recent trips. I've had long trips before, but like I said, I was thinking in my mind, patience, patience, because I didn't know how long it was going to last. I didn't know how long the darkness would last until eventually it would lift. At one point, I felt myself stood up. And I felt this before. Instead of just slowing down, sometimes I'll feel a force stand me on my 2 feet. They would literally, as if someone were taking me and from my back, picking me up, and then just putting me on my feet. And that's what I felt this time. And it was so funny because for a moment, I could feel myself almost running as if I was running and I was holding something. This was strange. I still couldn't see. It felt like maybe, I don't know how to explain this to you. It was like I was running. It was almost like I had to keep my balance as I was running. It was suddenly I was running and I was holding something. And then slowly, the darkness began to lift. But let me tell you something. In between, right before it lifted completely, I could see a body of water that seemed to go on forever. It was still dark. It was still dark. It was like night, but with no stars. But I could see shimmering. I could see the water shimmering. I was like, what is that? I could barely make it out. I didn't know what it was. I was thinking, what in the universe is that? Is that the ocean? But there are no stars. And then, as the light came up more, I could see that that water wasn't stretched out like an ocean. I was facing it. And what I mean by facing it, it was a screen. A screen. And I reached up and I touched it. My hand went through the water because it was stood up. I was in a movie theater, and all around me were plush red seats and red carpets. Picture any movie theater, but try to picture a very luxurious movie theater, very plush. It was beautiful. The dominant color in this theater was red. There was red seats, red carpets, red everywhere. And there were people sitting in this theater. But the water, this was the spectacular part to me. I've never seen anything like this in my life. I could not have imagined this. This was amazing to me. Now, for those of you who have been to Disneyland and some other parks, there's a show they called Phantasmic, where they put on a show where they, through a force underneath the water, they cause water to propel upwards and they make it into a screen and they can show images on it. And so in some other parks, they do this as well. They use water as a screen. This is not what I'm talking about, guys. No, there was no force propelling this water upwards. It was just a screen. It was just like a screen you would see in a movie theater. It was shimmering, but it was just there. I've never in my life seen anything like that ever. Ever. Oh my God. You could put your hand through it and then take your hand out. But there was no force. Picture any big screen TV, the stillness with it. There was no force making it do what it was doing. It was as if you could take the water and move it to different places. The screen of water. You could just pick it up, move it somewhere. And beyond that screen, there were other people. And they were eating and talking with one another. They seemed to be having conversation amongst themselves. Maybe like a dinner theater, perhaps? And that was just beyond the wall of theater, wall of water, or the screen of water. And by the way, I want you to know that the screen seemed to be almost at an angle. So it wasn't stood straight up. The screen was at a slight angle. It tilted just slightly. I walked around for some time just going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my. I was just taking it in. And the people that were there didn't pay too much attention to me. They really weren't. They were just off in their own conversation, talking amongst themselves in this place that looked like a movie theater. And they were ignoring me. And I, as I've promised, I didn't come up and start saying, what is this place? Remember, I've promised you that I'm going to be more of an observer. And that's really what I was here. I was an observer of this amazing thing. But I was in awe. And it took so much for me not to go around and say, what in the universe is this thing? I've never seen anything like it, guys. It was as if someone took a portion of the ocean and took it and picked it up and stood it so that it was like a screen, cut out part of it, and then stood it up like it was a screen. And I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. So I walked around, like I said, and two things to note here as I was walking. I saw two people that I remember. There was a young black kid. He had really short hair, and he was sitting and talking. I think I made eye contact with him for a moment. And then there was this kid, because I was walking around. I kept walking around. I was just looking at the theater, and I was just in amazement. And as I walked up, I noticed that there was another kid with red hair. These were all young people. They weren't older at all. I didn't see anybody that was really old, to be honest. They were all really young looking. And there was one kid, he had what looked like a bag of microwave popcorn in his hand. I was like, what's he doing with microwave popcorn? I could see some sort of markings on it. And for whatever reason, it was so funny because I was holding a bag of microwave popcorn too. So this makes me think that whatever version of me I was with at this point had popcorn, like microwave popcorn. And this person, I said something like, oh, that's popcorn. And then I said, is that microwave popcorn? And then he said, yeah. And he told me the brand of the popcorn. And I'm like, I never heard the brand, and I guys, I don't remember what he told me what the brand was. I don't remember. But I remember presenting my popcorn, and I suppose that version of me knew what that popcorn was. Again, I know this may sound strange to you just talking about microwave popcorn, but I want to make sure I have all the details here with what I experienced. At one point, as I was talking to this person, I lost my grip on the reality. I opened my eyes excitedly and came to the microphone here. This was extraordinary, guys. I haven't had an experience like this for some time, and I am excited for you to hear it. Thank you so much for coming on another journey with me. And until next time, take care.